have seen agitators getting in the way of some of these ICE agents who are trying to do their job.
Hey, these sort of anarchists.
What should happen to them?
They should be arrested.
Yeah.
They should be called out. We condemn that destruction of personal property.
Basically, you said that if you go out and do violence at this point, you're giving Donald Trump what he wants.
You're handing it to him. So stop. These guys, these idiots that are jumping up on cars, that are burning these Waymos, these people, that's a disgrace. Mm-hmm. And the impact they're having on our democracy, there's a lot at risk here. I mean, this is not just a simple act of disobedience. They should be arrested. They should be held accountable. Anyone who attacks any innocent person, including a law enforcement person that's lawfully doing their job, they're members of our community just like everybody else. They go to the same churches. They're good human beings. Mm-hmm. And just because we don't like Donald Trump, just because we don't like their orders, doesn't mean you have the right to hurt or harm people. And that goes for them as well.
Well, you're a little late to the party, don't you think, Gavin? Like just a tiny bit? Because, ladies and gentlemen, the situation in Los Angeles has officially gotten so out of hand that even the Democrats of all people can no longer continue to lie, gaslight, and be in denial about the situation. You can add this up to another long list of Trump and MAGA were right about everything cards, where every single time they initially come out, they call us far-right radical conspiracy theorists, and then in the later span of years, months, even in some cases like the one here today, days, they eventually come out and admit that we were right all along, but they refuse to give us any of the credit, much less learn their idiotic lessons. And that is no exception here today with the so-called fiery but mostly peaceful protests happening in LA, because of course we were being told by days, by the media, by the Democrat Party, by Gavin Newsom himself, that nothing is really happening in LA, right? They're peaceful protests. I think the exact phraseology that CNN used was like peaceful protests with quote unquote isolated pockets of violence, which is to say, yeah, some people, the occasional hooligan in the streets is throwing rocks at police cars or setting fires or rioting. But, it really is under control. We were, of course, told that LAPD, the local police, they're handling it so well, by the way. And the idea, the mere notion that Trump would deploy the National Guard to quell the riots is a gigantic overreaction and overstep, and it's an authoritarian martial law takeover of America. The entire thing is unjustified because, after all, again, there's not really a lot of violence happening. Oh, how quickly that argument fell apart. We got to tell you about that in today's video, as well as the ridiculously shameless pivot that Gavin Newsom is now making, because after saying it was under control and there's basically no violence, and then it was very clearly seen to the world where he can no longer continue to make that argument, now he's saying, okay, there is violence, but it's Donald Trump's fault, even though, again, Donald Trump is the guy who very early on, as the situation was already getting out of hand, tried to make a move, hopefully, that would stop it, that would actually stop people to keep committing violence. You opposed that. You came out against that. And now you're saying somehow like Gavin trying to make this pivot that he's the law and order guy. It's insane, right? We all know he's this deranged, like shape-shifting sociopath, but this really may take the cake of insanity. So we'll get into it. First, though, folks, do us a favor. If you enjoy the content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel. If you are new, you subscribing is the best way to support this coverage, and I know a lot of you have been enjoying it. So if you enjoy the content, make sure you hit that red button. And with that in mind, you already see, right? This is all they were saying all weekend, especially the moment that Trump deployed the National Guard, right? This was on last night, actually, late last night. Gavin Newsom comes out and says, despite protests already being managed by LAPD, President Trump is escalating the situation, right? He's the one escalating the situation, not the protesters, not the rioters. And by the way, what is the implication of escalating? Meaning the situation in itself is not that bad. It's just Trump that's making it bad, right? Despite protests already being managed by LAPD, Trump is escalating by threatening to deploy over 500 active duty Marines to the streets of Los Angeles. Los Angeles, remain peaceful. Don't fall into the trap that extremists are fighting for. So, I think the most telling part of that statement, right? Despite protests already being managed, right? They're being managed perfectly fine by LAPD. Well, I think even from the start, we all knew that was not true, but especially last night and yesterday in general, guys, as you saw videos and pictures like this right here, it immediately became obvious to the whole world, again, was too difficult for Gavin Newsom to deny. No, LAPD did not have the situation remotely, guys, remotely under control. You see another instance here where Gavin Newsom is responding to the many videos of rioting. I guess one person, right, one guy on social media basically posted accidentally a video that was from 2020 and not the current riots, right? So it's from the BLM riots. And Gavin Newsom responds here by saying, this video is from 2020, which is to say what? They're taking everything out of context. Nothing's going on. And look, the right wingers have to lie about it because one guy did the social media post. Of course, people respond in the comments with showing things like this, right? As you can see, ALX points out, yeah, which year is this one from? It's like you can go and say, okay, that video of them burning cars is from 2020, but here are current videos of them burning cars. And again, this is the situation that Gavin Newsom was hilariously trying to argue. Everything is fine. It's under control, mostly peaceful.
Declared. As we see protesters holding Mexican flags, jumping up on the hood of the car. I'll just speak about yesterday. It took some time for emergency crews to get the fire out of the vehicle fire that happened yesterday. It took some time before officials could move in, clear the crowd, firstly, make sure it's safe to go near the vehicle, and then douse the flames. And I gotta say, these do look like those autonomous vehicle, the Waymo cars that can pick up passengers. You can use them almost like an Uber, and they pick you up without a driver. That appears to be the two vehicles that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, don't worry, Gavin Newsom was saying, of course, everything is under control. It was very ridiculous from the start. We knew where this is headed. I mean, you saw images like this plastered everywhere, right? Especially this one right here, right? LAPD has the whole thing under control. You have LAPD back there in the back. And where's the control? There's a fire starting. This guy's doing the donuts, right? This famous guy. Where's the control? Absolutely none of it happening. But if you wanted a straightforward case, as Anthony Cabasa and many others reported off of an LA freeway just yesterday evening, as you can say, breaking news, a Molotov cocktail was thrown out at a police car on the 101 underpass. A police officer tries to distinguish it while remaining safe underneath the underpass. Protesters have been chucking rocks and other large items at what appears to be trapped officers. So again, while Gavin Newsom was going out and trying to say, whole thing is under control, you had LAPD cowering in tunnels because the mob is literally overwhelming them as they're burning LAPD. That says Highway Patrol, right? Police vehicles. It was ridiculous from the start. Everyone knew he was freaking lying about it. So now, ladies and gentlemen, what is the pivot that Gavin Newsom is doing? Well, we'll show you that in a second. But first of all, I do also want to point out, I think maybe the straw that broke the camel's back is the LAPD chief, Jim McDonnell himself, going out and admitting, no, we do not have the situation under control, right? So Gavin's trying to say everything is fine. LAPD's handling it. LAPD themselves are saying, no, his own words here, right? We are overwhelmed. So juxtapose those side by side, guys. Again, Gavin Newsom, protests are being handled by LAPD. LAPD themselves are saying, and I quote, we are overwhelmed. There is no limit to what they're doing to our officers. Take a listen for yourself so we can be clear this is not a right-wing misinformation conspiracy theory.
We saw the first night was bad. What we've seen subsequent to that is getting increasingly worse and more violent. Tonight we had individuals out there shooting commercial-grade fireworks at our officers. That can kill you. And we have adapted our tactics to be able to have a chance to be able to take these people into custody and to be able to hold them accountable. We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity. And the type of things that they're doing. They'll take backpacks, and the backpack will have a cinder block in it. They have a hammer, and they'll break up the cinder block and use that, pass it around to throw at officers, to throw at cars, and throw at other people. We've seen people with hammers, and you broadcasted, breaking the bollards behind the federal building and taking the rocks, if you will, or pieces of concrete, and throwing them at officers. We've had liquid of who knows what description thrown at officers. officers. There's no limit to what they're doing to our officers. And again, as I mentioned in my statement, I can't thank our folks enough and our partner agency police officials for going out there and taking care of the community.
Right, but again, the police have it under control, as they told us. There's no reason for Donald Trump to deploy the National Guard. What an authoritarian he is. Okay, I'm going to once again reiterate here. From the start, what did I say about it? I said it is basic common sense, because unlike 2020, you do not want I'd argue, honestly, even maybe a criticism of Trump, the mobilization was too slow, it's not aggressive enough, okay, because the situation is still out of control. But nonetheless, the point, right, the intention of it was what? And, in fairness to him, I'm not sure LA is being super cooperative, sanctuary city, all that. But the point was what? To get ahead of the problem, right? We already saw the situation getting out of hand, and, it was a slippery slope. Everyone knew exactly where it was going. And Gavin Newsom, again, tried to say everything was fine. You still see him going out and saying it right here. But I want to reiterate that again, okay? National Guard, not needed. LAPD is fine. Well, now, again, at the point where they can't deny it because LAPD themselves are saying it is not fine, what is the new pivot? Well, of course, Trump derangement syndrome. You know where they're going to go for this. So first of all, there was no violence. It was a peaceful situation. Not a big deal. Occasional street hooligans, police can handle it. So suddenly now they admit that that's not the case, and you see the Gavin Newsom press office for instance, going out now and saying the Department of Defense is lying to the American people. The situation became escalated when they deployed the troops. Donald Trump has manufactured a crisis and is inflaming conditions. He clearly can't solve this, so California will, right? So before they said there was no violence. Now they're admitting there is violence, which Donald Trump saw happening, hence why he deployed the Guard. But now they're saying, it's Donald Trump's fault that there is violence. But wait a minute, I thought everything was fine. I thought it was peaceful. Where's the crisis, right? Total pivot, total hilarious 180. And as you can see, the Department of Defense themselves actually responded here, Gavin Newsom on X, saying, the streets of LA are on fire. We didn't cause these riots, correct. Feckless leadership from the mayor to the governor caused this insanity. We will be the ones to restore law and order. Now, I think it goes without saying, it's pretty basic common sense here, but as Anthony Cabasa points out, just to clear up any confusion, yes, there is a lot of misinformation being put out by local and state government here in California. The escalation in violence, which was done on late Saturday night, guys, for the timeline there, Saturday, June 7th, you can go watch our video on it, by the way. The escalation in violence was not a result of the National Guard deployed. The violence was already here on Friday, January 6th, July 6th, June 6th, I should say. Okay, June 6th, sorry, Jay's there. June 6th, a whole day before. National Guard was the response to this, and yes, that is correct. We covered it, by the way. Okay, it's not an invented crisis out of nowhere. Like, this was a situation. By the way, maybe you want to talk about the federal government. How about the fact that anti-ICE protesters were trying to storm into federal facilities, and guess what? They needed backup, right? We saw LAPD would not help them because of sanctuary city laws and all that. So again, not exactly a manufactured crisis here. And to the extent to which, you're saying it's getting worse. Yeah, it's getting worse, which is why they deployed the Guard in the first place. The gaslighting here is absolutely ridiculous. But of course, here is Gavin Newsom himself going out and saying Donald Trump has manufactured a crisis. Guys, manufactured a crisis. Apparently, this video from, again, Friday, June 6th, a whole over 24 hours before the deployment, this was a manufactured crisis. So take a listen here, though, as Gavin Newsom, after again saying the violence was not really happening, it's being overblown, all that, now is going out and condemning the violence, finally, which is I would say just a lame attempt to appear moderate before 2028 or whatever. But underlying all of that, what is he doing? Instead of taking accountability, instead of perhaps, by the way, admitting if LAPD says they're overwhelmed, hey, maybe Trump had a point in deploying the National Guard. Maybe I should stop trying to fight him on this and instead go along with it because, hey, my own police department says they're overwhelmed. Instead, what does he do? Blame the violence that his own voters are causing. His voters, guys, are causing violence apparently because of Donald Trump. Everything is his fault. Take a listen to this ridiculous interview that he had had with MSNBC just over the weekend.
Causing mischief and mayhem. What's your message to those people who are out there tonight? Not the peaceful protesters that are out there protesting for the rights of immigrants, but for the people that are doing damage to buildings, to law enforcement.
Well, they're doing more than damage to buildings and to property. They're potentially damaging the very foundation of our, republic. The democracy is in the balance. I mean, you're seeing these authoritarian tendencies now are being acted out by this administration, and we're case in point as it relates to nationalizing, federalizing the National Guard, threatening now to put in Marines. So I hope these people would pause and just consider. Now, some of them, they want that kind of chaos. Some ways, they're adjacent to where Donald Trump is. But the peaceful protesters, we want to keep them safe. We want them to exercise their fundamental rights. We want to keep those that are enforcing the laws in a respectful and responsible way also safe. But Donald Trump needs to pull back. He needs to stand down. Donald Trump is inflaming these conditions. This is Donald Trump's problem right now, and if he can't solve it, we will.
Donald Trump needs to pull back. He is inflaming these conditions because, of course, again, as I will say for the millionth time, because I have to, your LAPD, as you can see from this video right here, is clearly handling it so well. But what I find to be kind of hilarious is that underlying Gavin Newsom's little argument there is actually two striking admissions. First of all, he is admitting that these violent protests, that, first of all, he's admitting they're violent now, so that's one thing. But secondly, the violent protests are not a good reflection of the left or the Democrat Party. Actually, in the process, they're making themselves look bad. Okay, so that's something to note there. But also, thirdly here, and this is most important, so is he admitting in that clip that indeed the National Guard is being deployed and the military is being deployed in response to the escalation of the riots getting worse, right? Because, I thought he was just deploying the military for no reason. So, if that's the case, then wouldn't he just deploy the military anyway, Gavin? Oh, wait, but you actually know that things are violent. The overall point is you just don't care, right? The whole meltdown by Gavin Newsom basically comes down to this sole point, right? He, and like we saw Tim Walz, like many Democrat governors do back in the year of 2020, is the strategy of course, letting the whole city already, guys, burn to the ground, and then finally you deploy the National Guard. And so Trump is the bad guy, apparently, for taking preemptive action. But hilariously here, as he has to finally admit, yes, there is violence and all this stuff, take a listen here, as later on in this same interview, Gavin Newsom just continues to have a complete and total mental breakdown over Tom Homan and the Trump administration, and it gets, frankly, honestly, kind of comical. Take a listen right here.
Homan, the border czar, said to me yesterday he did not rule out literally arresting you, nor Mayor Bass, if you interfere in his words. He said you hadn't yet.
He's a tough guy. Why doesn't he do that? He knows where to find me. But you know what? Let your hands off 4-year-old girls that are trying to get educated. Let your hands off these poor people. They're just trying to live their lives, man. Trying to live their lives, paying their taxes. Been here 10 years. The fear, the horror. The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So, Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
Totally mentally stable individual, by the way. Definitely has all his screws on tight for sure. You know what that reminds me a lot of, and you college football fans would probably know what I'm talking about. It's the infamous Mike Gundy, okay? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. This is literally Gavin Newsom having his complete meltdown on camera. I just want to point that out.
Where are we at in society today? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid. Write something about me or our coaches. Don't write about a kid that does everything right, that's heart's broken, and then say that the coaches said he was scared. That ain't true.
Yeah, so just a totally stable and mentally rational individual. But nonetheless, going on here from whatever that was, whatever that just pure performance art was supposed to be, okay, I'm not exactly sure. In serious news today, the Gavin Newsom administration is suing the Trump administration over this. They're saying, quote, I have formally requested the Trump administration rescind their unlawful deployments of troops in Los Angeles County and return them to my command. In Gavin Newsom's words, quote, we didn't have a problem until Trump got involved. Right, so just showing you what you saw on your screen earlier. But again, this was not a problem, guys. It was the moment the National Guard showed up, then people started looting and rioting and burning things. Then violence started. It definitely wasn't happening the entire time. Again, right? What was he saying just hours before that? LAPD has everything under control, as LAPD says they don't have anything under control. Nonetheless, okay, as you can see, this is a serious breach of state sovereignty. Inflaming tensions while pulling resources from where they're actually needed. Rescind the order and return control to California. And apparently rescind law and order, law and order to California. Because again, of course, they were doing such a good job of that, guys. It's just unbelievable. So nothing was happening, but now stuff is happening, and it's Donald Trump's fault that it's happening. Not our fault for being in denial and aiding it, abetting it, refusing to condemn it, etc., etc. Nonetheless, it's worth noting, while Gavin Newsom tries to save his own skin, many other Democrats still, okay, firstly, there wasn't violence, but also now let's just celebrate it. Take a listen.
We are labor, and we move the agenda to support working families all over the country. And if somebody gets in our way, shame on them, because we're going to run right over them, aren't we? Shame! It's time to make your voices heard. Shame on us if we don't get out there and fight like hell every single day and make our voices heard. We've got to do that because we are united. We are right. And we're going to stand up and we're going to fight like hell every single day. Are you ready to fight? Yeah. Are you ready to fight? Yeah. Are you ready to make your voices heard? Yeah. Let's do it. Thank you.
Many Democrat voters are indeed heeding the calls, right? Listening directly to the words of their party leaders, which is hence why you see scenes like this right here. But again, don't forget, guys, the whole situation is under control. It was fine. The only problem is the National Guard. Please leave, guys. All right. Well, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. What do you think of the pivot by Gavin Newsom and Trump is bad because nothing is happening, but also Trump is bad because something is happening. As I said before, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if Trump didn't deploy the National Guard and these protesters continue to burn the city as they already were, they would say, why isn't Trump deploying the National Guard? He's letting LA burn. It's political. It's just ridiculous. But all right, with that said, guys, let me know your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.